Hi, welcome back to Supply Chain Systems Scheduler. Today we're going to focus on demand management and go into a little bit more depth about some concepts we talked about in earlier sessions. Particularly up on this demand line, try to give you some of the background conceptually on where this information is coming from and how it's being manipulated. So in a pictorial way, we'll shift over from the Excel to PowerPoint and look at some concepts there. The first one is the idea of fences, that we're going to use different logic inside those fences, outside, and in between the fences. So the first fence is called the order fence. Inside the order fence, we're exclusively looking at customer orders as our demand driver. Between the order fence and the forecast fence, we're looking at logic, which is greater than logic. Are the orders greater than the forecast, or the forecast greater than the orders? Outside of the forecast fence, it's exclusively forecast. And the reason being for that is that we haven't actually received the orders out that far in time, and the only demand driver that makes any sense or has any value are just the forecasts that are available. But even as a strategy, I want you to think in terms of, we're going to try to have 3 steps in how we're going to schedule our production. The first one, which I refer to as the react phase, is that we're only going to react to customer orders that would cause us to want to change the schedule. We wouldn't change the schedule within the near term just because of forecasts. We would only change it because of customer orders, probably only for our A customers if there was a real urgency to it. Or in the case of the airline industry, plane on the ground, they would interrupt their production in, let's say, making their wings, just to be able to make sure they had a part that was needed for an aircraft that couldn't fly anymore. So there are some reasons why you would interrupt the schedule if you were in that situation. The second one is rebuilding our safety stocks. So our first priority is reacting to orders. The second one is rebuilding safety stocks, where we're jeopardizing our customer service level if there are certain products that are not at high enough inventory levels that could jeopardize our sales if we were exceeding our forecasts or not keeping up with our production on those specific products. What would be the sense of making a product that we had plenty of inventory of over products that were in short supply? So basically, we want to hit those first. And then finally, when we get outside this forecast fence here's our opportunity to optimize our lot size, our equal order quantity, our EOQ, and look for opportunities to be much more efficient with our capacity management and our capacity utilization. So this is the general way that now the demand information is lining up with our business strategy. And I would feel like this is fairly generic for most industries that are going to be doing scheduling. Okay, also recognize that we have different demand patterns. Forecasts, whether it be weeks or months, are generally just thought of as flat demand over that period of time. So if this is week, this would be week 1, week 2, week 3, or if this was month, this is month 1, month 2, month 3. If we find that there is some seasonality or some bias within a month on a regular basis, we then have to break up a monthly forecast. Assume that this is a monthly forecast. We could vary the forecast by week and actually have the monthly forecast broken up into these flat patterns, but it's still going to hold for the entire week. Orders, on the other hand, typically have specific days that they are due. At the end of the day, you have to assign a date that is the date that the customer needs to have it shipped, to them or received by them, and then we have to back out how much shipping time there is and how much production time there is in order to meet those schedules. But they are specific in the day that they are going to be needed, whether we're actually scheduling to the manufacturing date, the ship date, or to the date that they expect to receive it. And then also the next concept here is that we don't have all the orders all the time for our forecasts. We're consuming our forecasts over time. And our orders are going to be more representative of demand. So really when we look at this chart here, we have more orders in the short term that are going to represent our true demand. And as we go further and further out, we're going to have less and less orders that represent that demand. At a certain point in time, they cross over, and outside of that, the forecasts are going to be a much more meaningful source of our demand pattern that we can expect. We just simply haven't received the orders yet. Now, there is the opportunity. As you're doing your schedule, you want to be working with your sales and marketing organization, looking at promotions and things that can distort demand. But you have to come up with logic within the software, and you're going to convert this logic on how you're managing your business, where you're doing the same thing as we were before, where we're blending this pattern of very spiky demand from customer orders to our more level demand. And this is the way that the logic works. Here we have orders only inside the order fence and the forecast fence, and between them we're blending these two things together, and then outside of our forecast fence it's forecast only. But every time we look at this information, it is also an opportunity to question our forecast. And if it looks like, let's say you're selling Apple phones or Apple watches, here's an opportunity to watch this on a daily, weekly basis, or whatever time frame you want to use, and question whether we should be adjusting our total forecast based upon how things are happening. Especially for new product launches, this is very significant. You want to track this trend between the orders and the forecast and determine whether you should be adjusting your forecast. And that should be done fairly rigorously, especially on new product introductions. Okay, that's it for today. Thank you for coming by and spending some of your valuable time with us. Bye-bye.